Alright YouTube, so we are back, of course, talking about some Final Fantasy VII Remake, and what we have today is a follow-up to this whole Final Fantasy VII Remake Orchestra World Tour situation. Initially, when we talked about this and covered it, is because in the past, Square Enix has had a history of having big reveals at these Orchestra events for their games. They did it with Kingdom Hearts 3 in like 2018. They did it with Remake in 2019. Right before E3, they had like an Orchestra event, and they had a new trailer there. And really, that's the only reason I've even shed any light on it or talked about it in a video, because otherwise it would just be a musical event, whatever, who cares. It's cool, but that's not anything that's video-worthy. But because Square Enix has a history of having trailers at these Orchestra events, there could be some significance to this one in February. In a somewhat recent video, we talked about this event being canceled because of COVID, but fast forward to today, and they're still going ahead with this concert, but online, with a live stream. Which I found to be kind of interesting, just because we initially talked about, well, if there's going to be something shown at this event, you know, PS5 reveal information, whatever's going to happen potentially, now that the event is canceled, how are they going to go about revealing that information? But they're still going ahead with the concert itself, you just got to watch it online, so to me that adds just a bit of significance to this event, because they could have just postponed it, right? They could have just been like, okay, we can't do it because of COVID, we'll just do it another time, but they're making sure to do this event this day specifically. Which is going to be February 13th, which is one of the initial dates for this Orchestra event. It was initially going to be on February 12th and 13th, now just the 13th. Now, this all being said, just because they're making sure the event happens, you know, with an orchestra still, just no live audience, it doesn't necessarily mean it's because they have some big, amazing reveal for us at this event. There's a lot of things that go into this, right? They had to get like 100 plus people or something together for this orchestra event. They paid money to rent out this, like, you know, music hall that the event's happening at. And of course, people already bought tickets to it. So then making sure the orchestra event happens isn't indicative of some big reveal happening at the event. Like, there's already a lot of money that went into this and people already bought tickets. So they're probably doing it mostly just to make sure that the event still happens in general. Now, obviously, I'm not completely writing off something being revealed at the event. I just want to make sure people have their hype and their expectations in check. And even if there is something shown at this event, more than likely, it's just going to be that PS5 port we've talked about quite a bit, or the game coming to like PC/Xbox One, right? Like, that's more than likely what would be shown at this event. They could, of course, you know, talk about Part 2, or when we might see information for Part 2 or something like that. That's like the smallest bit, like the least likely thing to happen, but it is a possibility. But more than likely, it's just them talking about the game coming to other platforms. Kind of a quick side note from this, whenever I see people talk about this, like the exclusivity ending, the game coming to other platforms, they really only ever mention PC and PS5, and not very often mention Xbox One, but 100% of the games coming to Xbox One at some point. Pretty much every other Final Fantasy that's been exclusive to the PlayStation platform has eventually hit Xbox One. The 7 and 9 HD ports, the 10 and 10-2 remaster, 12 Zodiac Age was on PS4 for a lot of years, eventually hit Xbox One. World of Final Fantasy, and even when it comes to something like Final Fantasy XIV, which has been a PlayStation exclusive for a lot of years at this point. You can go back as far as like PS3. It's supposed to get an Xbox One version eventually. At least according to Yoshida. So I don't really know why people like fail to mention the game coming to Xbox One, because it's definitely happening eventually. There's a big player base on Xbox, even though it's not as big as PS4. There's still like 40 or 50 million Xbox One sold or something like that, so a big player base there. Now, as for some more information on the event, initially they're going to have Yoshinori Kitase there, along with Masashi Hamazu, I think is how you say his last name, and Mitsudo Suzuki. And they're actually still going to be there, but in the form of video messages, instead of being there live, of course. And this, of course, again, I do find quite interesting. The latter two are composers for Square Enix, which it makes sense why they're going to be there. It is an orchestra event. But Kitase, of course, is a producer when it comes to Remake. This event is, of course, a Remake concert. And he's kind of the face of Square Enix, it seems like, these days. Like, he's kind of at the forefront doing most of the interviews, it seems like. It's almost always Kitase being talked to or interviewed or whatever. And with them still holding this concert, and the guests that were supposed to be there still being there, but of course in video form, it makes you kind of wonder, like, is there a reason for that? Is Kitase being there for a reason, to reveal or talk about something? Because he didn't have to send in a video message. Some other weird and slightly disappointing news, if you're interested in watching this concert, is that it's like, oddly enough, the streaming website is like region locked, and you have to buy it with like yen. Like, you have to buy this with like a Japanese credit card. I have no idea why. Which I find even weirder, because they're promoting the concert on like the FF7 Remake like concert website, the English website, but it's like practically impossible for one of us to watch it if we wanted to, or far too much of a hassle to go out of our way to watch it. You'd have to have like a VPN. I don't even know how you'd get like a Japanese credit card to buy this shit. Like, it's just way too much of a hassle, if it's even possible at all, for one of us to watch it. So I don't even know why they're promoting it. We also have the setlist reveal, which I think is pretty cool, because if you look at it, it seems to be in order of how the songs we played in the game, like the Prelude, the opening medley, Mock Reactor 1, down to those chosen by the planet, Arbiters of Fate, and of course Hollow, which Hollow is played at the very end of the game during like the cutscene where you're seeing Zack like carry Cloud and shit. Some people did point out that the setlist is missing One Wing Angel, which is kind of crazy, because you think that'd be like one of the songs they're definitely going to play. So there's a good chance there might be tracks that they're going to play that aren't actually on the setlist, because there's almost no way they're not doing One Wing Angel. And I do believe that is everything we have as of right now in regards to this Orchestra event happening on February 13th. Of course, it remains to be seen if there's going to be something revealed here, and I hope there is. I hope at the very least they address the PS5 port or just the exclusivity ending and the game coming to other platforms. Like, I hope something like that, man. Anything beyond that would be fantastic. There could, of course, assuming that something like Ever Crisis or The First Soldier, those trademarks we looked at a few times, if those are something like sort of DLC for Part 1 that's going to happen when the exclusivity ends, like there's a chance that we could get a trailer for that as well. It's not unheard of. We got trailers for full-on games. A trailer for a DLC wouldn't be much of a surprise. But that, of course, is still a couple weeks away, but we're definitely going to keep our eyes on this event. Either way, my dudes, that is the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Want to update more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Turn on my notifications. Follow me on Twitter, dashingdavidYT. I'm a Discord. Links to my social networks are in the description. And in the outro. Later, guys.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more. And nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Logain or leave it like Cobain.